Greetings! Today I'm coloring this swordswoman, which I've already sketched out, and I'm going to use acrylic paint. It's a version of the primaries that I'm using, which is burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and black and white. I started with blending the colors digitally. It makes it easier to not mix the wrong color and have to redo stuff later, and also so that I can keep more track of my values. I mixed a color similar to the skin that I plan to use, and a darker and a lighter version of it. This character is going to be inspired by the winter because it's super snowy outside right now where I live. I feel like her rapier kind of matches the vibe of winter because like the sting of cold. At the beginning I used too much water because my paper couldn't handle it and started to like fray a bit, and it also bubbled, which is why I have this little chest that you might see sometimes in the video to keep the paper more flat. I was worried about the fraying of the paper, but I thought that I could fix it with line art later. The shirt is sheer because my bisexuality told me to, and we can call her Elsa and that the cold never bothered her anyway. It also looks interesting from an artistic point because it contrasts the opaque materials. When I was filming the snow footage, I obviously had gloves on, and somehow my nail polish shipped in the middle of the nail, so if you see that, no you didn't. That doesn't exist. You can really see the paper peeling here, but in the end I fixed it on other places, but I ended up leaving a lot of it on the shirt because I thought that it added like a kinda cool fabric texture. I made the collar and cuffs quite long because I find it aesthetically pleasing and it looks like old and ethereal. I've tried to draw more in my own style recently. I've been dressing quite dark and listened to goth music for like years now, but I haven't really added that into my art, and I feel like it's something that I want to express more. The hair is nice and shiny and borderline oily at this point, but I will go over it later with a wash in order to keep sharper shadows so that I let the paint dry before. Another thing I like to do with the hair is make a bunch of flowy pieces like I'm doing here, and it's kind of Art Nouveau inspired. I decided to leave the hair near the cape kind of flat for now and add strands there later, so that I don't have to worry about going around them when I color in the cape. If you see a bunch of time skips and stuff, it's because I was going from different places so that the paint could dry, but I combined some of the sections together so it would be a bit more progress on each part before I moved on to something else to later move back to it. I recently started listening to Mors Syphilica, which is kind of a goth medieval inspired band. I really like their songs. They're really like calm and nice to listen to in the background, but unfortunately it's like impossible to find the lyrics to a lot of their songs, and you can't really hear everything that they're saying, which is really a bummer because I like to like read the lyrics so that I know what the message is a bit better. You might have noticed that the arm on the like back of her isn't visible at all, and my headcanon is that like she's an amputee, she doesn't have it. Because the silhouette was nicer without it, and having another dark shape there kind of like ruined it. So maybe she got frostbite or something, I don't know. Maybe she couldn't handle the cold after all. I just realized that it's like accidentally kind of a human version of the Hollow Knight, because it's like the same color palette, like very monochromatic, black and white, and missing an arm. and also like being some kind of knight or swordsman. You can see here that I figure out better the color to water ratio that this paper likes, because the pans are way smoother than the parts that I was beginning with. When I used more water down here, you can see that it pills, but in the shadows it's more smooth. So basically the fix for having paper that can't handle water is to mix a lot of colors instead of diluting them with water. So if I didn't want the light parts to pill, I would need to mix a lighter version of the shadow part. If you see the paper that's behind the one I'm drawing on, it is parchment paper. I used it because I'm drawing in my sketchbook, and a few pages down I have an illustration of Calanthe that I made with colored pencils, the queen from Sintra in The Witcher. So I was quite nervous about accidentally ruining her with the water, hence why I put that in between. I'll show later if it worked. I'm currently reading the Witcher series, so if anyone else is reading it or has read it, it's the scene where she's sitting on the swing when Geralt comes. In the future I might make a video when I'm painting or drawing some other scene from The Witcher. That would be quite fun, so you can comment if you would be into that. I'll probably just do it anyways though, because this channel is mostly like for fun. I just do what I want. Also, another thing that I wanted to bring up is if it's okay that the video is like sideways. I don't have any stand or anything, so I just put my phone up on a glass thingy with brushes holding it down. I can't really tell anymore if it's annoying because I spent so much time editing, so I'm really used to it now. So please comment if you don't like that and I'll try to find something else. Here I'm coloring the scabbard of the rapier. It was quite tricky to get it to look straight, but I fixed it up later with the line art and stuff. I've been watching a lot of Sloeus videos lately, and I really liked her long-form videos, so I took inspiration from them when doing this. So I also wanted to do like a little homage to them, so that is why I got the idea of them having a sword to begin with, because they paint a character with a sword in one of the videos. Here I'm going in on the hair again and doing the wash I was talking about before on the highlights. If you don't know what a wash is, it is basically when you use watered down paint and paint it over something so that it changes color a bit. And I'm also just darkening shadows with a second layer. I kind of messed up on this piece of hair that's close to the face. I think it looks kind of ugly and too big. But I think that it actually serves kind of a purpose, because without it, you don't really look at the face very much. So it serves a purpose of bringing your attention there, even though it's kind of ugly and it would look a bit prettier without it. The shoes honestly don't make a ton of sense, because why would you have to tie them when you also have a buckle? But I guess it could kind of be useful if you tie them and want them to be tighter. Kind of like the way you do with some ice skates, when you like put them on and then can make them tighter with some buckle. But additionally, the bows just look cute and kind of bring in the texture of the flowing hair to the lower part of the image, so I think that she would like them also. Here I'm going back in on the skin and fixing up the pilling. by applying more opaque color to it. And I'm also doing some light highlights with white because it's quite a strong light source of snow that's coming from kind of the back of her, a bit to the front. Now I'm finally painting the cape, and it is very inspired by snow. As you can see, it kind of has the same shadows and texture that new snow has, but in a fabric form. It was very fun and easy to draw. I just had to do like pretty much one layer. I didn't have to pause at all when doing the cape, except for the line art later. At some parts, especially when I began the drawing, I got a bit too attached to the brush I was using and used too big of a brush on small parts. But now later I will have cleaned it up a bit with smaller brushes, so it isn't too late to clean it up if you accidentally do that too. You can see on the pants that it's light coming from behind also, and that is because the light bounces off the white color of the cape, kind of like it does with snow, and then bounces back at the pants. I don't know if you could tell before this, but that little part out of the leg is not some weird mistake or anything, it's just the cape that is coming in front of the leg. But before this it has like literally blended in with the background. Another thing she kind of reminds me of is like the Phantom of the Opera, because it's, once again, it's kind of a similar color scheme to some of his outfits and also the sword. And I feel like he wears a shoulder cape sometime. I don't know if he actually does or in what in that case. Here I am starting to color the rapier, and it was very fun to do because it's so shiny. So you don't really have to be super careful about borders or anything. You can just put it down and then put a bunch of highlights and it will look nice. I think I'll do the chain soon, and that was also very fun to draw because you got to like actually make it look like a chain, because right now it looks kind of wonky and blocky. I really underestimated how long this would take to edit, because painting this maybe took like, I think it took 90 minutes, because it took a bit longer because of having to move around the camera and stuff like that. But the editing has taken like forever to get this down to just the aesthetic parts, and so that I don't have to talk forever. But in the end I feel like it really paid off, because I think the editing looks very nice, honestly. Not to pat my own back, but I like it. I haven't really done editing like this before, because I've only done like speed paints digitally, and I haven't really cut out much of anything there, whereas here I got to go really in depth, and it is almost in real time. It like sped up a tiny bit. Now that it's been winter break, I've had a lot of time to just do creative stuff, and because of making so much digitally, I have been craving doing more stuff traditionally, and like crochet and such. I actually crocheted a shirt for Christmas that I can obviously wear other times too, because it's quite simple and a bit inspired by like the Victorian cycling shirt. Now I'm done with the colors, and here's how it looks. I think that it looked very nice before line art, and honestly I could have just made more colors so it's easier to see the shapes. Like for example, the hand is quite messy right now, you can't really see what's going on, and I kind of wish that I've done that instead of line art, but I found a solution to make it look more like wispy and glowy later. It really invokes that snow feeling that I think the line art kinda removed. I've really been liking that overexposed look when it's on the edges of paintings or pictures and stuff. It looks old and kind of like old fantasy movies. I think some of them have it. This isn't the oldest example, obviously, but Lord of the Rings, when Galadriel has this glow around her, it's kind of that I'm talking about. The line art went smoothly though, despite it changing how the painting feels. I didn't really mess up on anything big, at least. Just the normal tiny mistakes that you get with line art and traditional mediums. Normally when I draw digitally, I do the line art first, and I would have done this here too, but I can't really do that with the line art pencils that I have because they are not waterproof, so if I would have painted over them, it would have smudged everywhere. That's kind of, if you remember the Calanthe drawing that I talked about earlier, I did that with colored pencils, and I don't really like them because they take so long and I always press too hard. But I'd forgotten that they aren't waterproof and done the line art first, so I didn't really have any choice. I'm gonna talk a bit more about my winter break and what I've done. So I had this pink basket that I've had for a really long time. It was kind of like a light pink color, and I sanded it down and painted it black, and I didn't have any lace, so I crocheted some lace and put that on the border and put some nice red velvet looking fabric on the inside, and I also crocheted a heart that I use as a needle cushion. So that has been really useful actually for sewing, because I can like put my scissors and stuff in there and move it from when I'm cutting and when I'm sewing, if I'm on my sewing machine and such. Here is a part where I actually did do a mistake with the line art. I think I cut it out because it stressed me out to look at it. It is at the end of the scabbard. I like accidentally went out away from it, but I was able to fix it. I just rounded it out a bit, so it looks fine now. I got kind of a bad habit from when I was doing shorts and talking in them, because I was stressing about talking really fast, which actually impacted my grades in Swedish and English, because at presentations I would just ramble so quickly and my teacher didn't like it. But now I've gotten rid of that habit, so I'll try to not do that again, which is kind of why the recordings for this video have been so like calm and just barely scripted at all. I pretty much don't have a script. Oh, and I forgot to mention before, I'm using a 0.1mm fine tip to do the line art, and it is the smallest that I have, but if I had a smaller one, maybe I wouldn't have the problem with the line art removing some of that that I talked about before. wcanimated opened positions for animators and some other positions also. So I have submitted my thing for it, but I've thought about maybe doing a video where I talk about some stuff I did for that, like some art style studies and such, and talking about if I got accepted or not when the results eventually come out. If you haven't heard about wcanimated, it's basically they're animating the first 6 books of the WarriorCat series, and it's not a paid position or anything, they just do it for the sake of it. They have like rewritten some stuff so that they hopefully won't get in trouble with the errands, which they haven't done so far. Here I'm doing the line art for the hair, and if I enjoy the line art on any part of this, it is probably the hair, because it just brings the shapes together so much more without taking anything away, I think. It's probably because it is similar to the actual hair color, the color I'm lining with. Now it's time for the face though, and this is a part that I feel like the line art kinda ruined for me. Not the thing I'm doing now, but when I get to the eye, I think it kind of ruins some of that snowy similar values. Like, it looks like the cape right now, and it looks very pretty. But as I said before, I fix some of it later. One of our cats got to come outside with us yesterday, and we went on away a bit on the road, and suddenly she became like really spooked and just fluffed up her tail and was looking around all suspicious. So I had to go back with her, and she kept like looking over her shoulder. So maybe it was the scent of a fox or something. I don't know why she would be so suspicious. And then when we got back, our other cat, he doesn't enjoy the snow right now. He usually does, but not this year. He just sat in the window watching us disapprovingly. Here I finally got to the part where I kind of fix the glowing feeling that I was talking about before. And I do this by dry brushing with white over the line art where the light would hit it. I removed some parts of it so you don't really get to see when the actual effect is like happening super much, but you see it in the final result, so it's fine. You can see there on the leg where the cape comes, that's kind of it. Here's the finished result. I'm really happy with how she came out. She looks so pretty and snowy. Also like the branches and winter nights. And now the scary stuff. Let's see how Calanthe did. This is the page directly under, and here she is. She's fine, she made it.